one of whom might even catch the assassination with a camera. In his mind's eye, Maclean saw himself posing with the Queen's dead body like the great hunters did in Africa when they felled a lion. A hiss of steam and the squeal of wheels on rails signalled the arrival of the train. There was an anticipatory murmur from the crowd, and Maclean scowled at two Eton boys who jostled him as they pushed by. They regarded him haughtily, tall hats tipped back on their heads. He could tell they considered him beneath their contempt, and decided in that instant that they would die too. Their kind, arrogant and entitled, brought nothing good to the world, and the country would be better off without them. For several long minutes nothing happened, and Maclean began to wonder if Mrs. Vick had nodded off inside her carriage, and everyone would have to wait for hours until she stirred. He began to shiver. His thin coat was no protection against a bitter March evening, and he missed his scarf sorely. Then came a bray of important voices. Princess Beatrice, the Queen's youngest daughter, alighted from the train and crossed the platform. Courtiers flowed at her heels, and there was a flurry of activity as the waiting carriages were readied. A door was opened, and steps pulled out. Relaxed and confident, Beatrice turned to chat to the woman walking behind her, the Duchess of Roxburgh, mistress of the robes. The two were joined by the Queen's equerry, Colonel Sir John Macneill, and his friend Colonel Sir Algernon Fleetwood Pelham, one of Her Majesty's grooms-in-waiting, known for being something of a gossip. Maclean gripped the pistol harder. All four were intimates of Mrs. Vick, and might even have encouraged her to reject his beautiful poem. After the Queen and the Eton boys, they would pay the price. He had bullets enough for all of them. Even as he imagined the shock on their haughty faces when he opened fire, the Queen waddled out. She was smiling, something she rarely did in public. Maclean knew she was taunting him, gloating because she was wearing a blue sash, the colour God had reserved for him. Rage surged inside him. She was handed into the carriage, and the cavalcade began to move, grey ponies straining at their traces. Maclean hauled out his gun and took aim. The shot rang out, and people screamed. Maclean prepared to fire again, but one of the photographers, a slight, sandy-haired fellow named James Burnside, acted without thought for his own safety. He seized Maclean's wrist and twisted the revolver from his hand. Maclean tried to squirm free, but Burnside was too strong. Then a policeman, Superintendent Hayes of the Windsor Police, surged forward and grabbed Maclean's other arm. Moments later, the two Eton boys joined the melee, striking Maclean with their umbrellas. He cried out in pain and tried to explain about God, the colour blue, and his lovely poem, but no one would listen. Except one man who watched thoughtfully as Maclean was dragged away by the police, sure such lunacy could come in useful one day. Reading, Wednesday the 19th of April 1882. The trial was a sensation. Everyone agreed that Roderick Maclean had indeed intended to shoot the Queen, and might have succeeded if Burnside and Superintendent Hayes had not intervened. They and the Eton boys were hailed as heroes, while the miserable Maclean was denounced as the devil incarnate. The trial lasted less than a day, and the jury took only 5 minutes to deliver the verdict. Not guilty, but insane. It meant Maclean would spend the rest of his life in Broadmoor Criminal Lunatic Asylum. Maclean did not really understand the implications of the sentence and was just glad he was not to be hanged. He had no idea why anyone should think him mad, but if it meant escaping the noose, then so be it. He settled his bowler hat on his head, squared his shoulders, and allowed himself to be marched away. Because of their youth and prominent families, the Eton boys were singled out for special praise, and they